My freedom of expression includes the freedom to lie. But I speak only one lie usually, that I don't disclose my age. But now that I am here delivering a lecture, I must confess to you that I am running the 94th year of my life. I have been the founder member of the BJP. When it came into existence, I was the first vice president for the whole of India. But my freedom of expression and the exercise of that right has put me into a lot of troubles. When I was a practicing lawyer, and of course a member of the BJP, somebody in the Supreme Court of India speaking before a Chief Justice and his colleague, Chief Justice was, I think, Mr. Justice Anand. They said something to him which was indeed an attack on me. And the Chief Justice succumbed to this provocation and made an observation which was hurtful to me and my reputation. My enemies got it published in the press, and I read about it. My freedom of expression tells me one thing, that you must be prepared to pay a price for that expression. I made a public statement to the press that it was somewhat cowardly of the Chief Justice to make that statement in my absence. Now that he has made it in my absence, let me tell you what the true version of things is. And I hope after hearing my explanation, the Chief Justice will have the goodness and the courtesy to apologize. He was a good man. His informers and instigators were men of bad character. They somehow managed to create this anger in him. And the Chief Justice, not only from his chair on the bench, withdrew that statement, but apologized for having made that statement, and we remained the friends, and of course, we remained the friends till I last met him. But those who created this mischief, I wrote a book, a small book, Big Egos and Small Men. It was the story of how people lie in public. They do not have the right of expressing the truth, but they are very, very, very easy at speaking lies and creating false impressions against others. That book is a very small book. It was written many, many years ago, but it is one of the jewels of my writing, and those who care would kindly take the trouble of going through that book. Recently, an American girl wrote a book about me, and it was published in New York. The title of that book was a very flattering title. The title was Ram the Rebel. But I had warned her that please concentrate mainly on my legal and political career. Do not go into many other things of my life. She, of course, violated that injunction. But I must give credit to that girl, an American girl, who, to be able to write that book, read 400 judgments of Indian courts. And that book is still available both in New York, United States, and of course at every Indian bookstall. There are two collections of my books, of my writings. I am not advertising my writings, but my writings give me a confession to you that only I am summarizing the writings in those two books, and within 20 minutes or 25 minutes to summarize two full books is not a very easy joke. My friends, if you have time and if you believe half the things which Dr. Vedic has said for me, please read both the books. The title of one book is Conscience of the Maverick, and the second, the most recent one, is The Conscience of the Maverick, Unrepentant and Unreformed. I have not changed a bit at all, whatever be the consequences. So, my friends, if you think of the freedom of expression, please understand that it is the freedom to speak the truth, the duty to speak the truth. Freedom of expression does not by any means mean to speak the kind of misleading stuff which our politicians have got used to, and you hear from them mostly never truth but only lies. Let me give you a small illustration. The United Nations have been worried and terribly worried about the prevalence of corruption in public life throughout the world, not merely India. But I'm quite sure that they had India in their mind too when they grappled with this problem. And for full 4 years, from the year 2000 to the year 2004, the United Nations was busy producing a convention against corruption in which the main theme was the serious problem of black money, which was a disease for the whole of the world practically, whether the West or the East or the North or the South. And my friends, that convention every lover of freedom of speech must read. It creates an international duty to speak the truth. And speak the truth, however unpleasant consequences it might attract for you or for anybody else in whom you are interested. And after 4 years, that convention became law in 2004 and became open for signatures. My friend, the Congress party was in power in 2004. In 2005, they were practically the first government in the world which put its signature of acceptance on this United Nations Convention Against Corruption. But you will be amazed that how a government which ultimately failed because of the charges of corruption and so on was one of the earliest to put its signature upon this document meant to deal with corruption and eradicate it from the whole of society. Very few people know, and very few professors of law know, that an international convention does not become binding on a country which merely signs that document. You have to lodge with the United Nations a document called the Document of Ratification. And it is only when that document of ratification is lodged with the United Nations that the convention becomes binding on India and binding on the country which lodges that ratification document. This does not speak volumes for the credibility and the honesty of the previous government, nor indeed of the current government, that this document of ratification which made it binding on the nation was not signed till 2011. For 6 years, India did not put that document of ratification in the possession of the United Nations to make it binding on our country. Why? Because the government had no commitment to the abolition of corruption or eradication of corruption from this country and from our society. In the meantime, my friends, something very curious happened. And I'm talking of the year 2008. In the year 2008, the German government paid a bribe of $475 million to an employee of a bank. Can you imagine the quantum of money? $475 million was paid to this employee of the Liechtenstein Bank, a bank which almost constitutes a whole country by itself. It is situated on the borders of Switzerland, but is strictly not Switzerland itself. The whole country of Liechtenstein consists practically of the bank only. From Switzerland, you can walk into that and come back in 20 minutes or half an hour, and you can say that you visited another country as well. My friends, the Germans had the 1,400 names in their possession, which they shared with the Swiss Bankers Association. The Swiss Bankers Association and the government of Germany both made a declaration. You will be amazed to know what declaration they made. The declaration they made was that in this list of 1,400 dacoits from the world over, the majority of the names are of Indians. 2008, and my friends, the German Chancellor announced publicly that we are willing to share this information with any friendly country, and specifically they mentioned that India is a friendly country, and this list contains the majority of names as being Indians. We are prepared to share this information with the Indian government. No politician, no prime minister, no member of parliament, no leader of the opposition approached the Germans for these names. Why? If you were sitting in a jury trial as a juror, what would be your inference from this conduct? The inference would be that both parties, the ruling party and the opposition parties, are mixed up with these international dacoits, and particularly Indian dacoits, and they don't want their names to be disclosed, and their penalties inflicted on them, and money recovered. My friends, up to 2009, in spite of my telling the politicians of India, please go to Germany and ask for these names. Nobody listened. In fact, I believe that right at that moment, preparations started for neutralizing me politically in India. In 2009, the next year, I approached the Supreme Court of India with a petition in which I took 4 or 5 very conspicuously great and honest men in this country, made them co-petitioners, and asked the Supreme Court to look into this total lack of patriotism and total disloyalty to the nation and its economic interests, and please make the necessary orders. And I assure you that I have made my inquiries from Germany. The Germans have told me, the Germans have informed me that no approach has been made from India, either the ruling party or the opposition party. So I told the Germans and my friends, I had taken with me a German lawyer who was a very dear friend of mine. I told the Germans that India is a democracy. You don't owe obligations only to the government of India to tell them the names of these rascals. You owe this obligation to the poor people of India, who are the greatest victims of this corruption in India. And please, I am a member of the opposition. I am a member of parliament in India. Please give me these names. They agreed with me. They said, Mr. Jethmalani, you are right. We owe an obligation to the poor people of India. But kindly do one thing. Go back and ask at least 2 or 3 opposition politicians in the country, to say that we are interested in these names on behalf of the people of India. Mr. Jethmalani is our colleague, and he is asking this in the name of the people of India and not for his own personal benefit. Please give these names. I drafted a 2-line letter and gave it to 2 prominent BJP politicians. They should have realized that the destiny of India depends upon this. But my friends, after 10 days, I called both the politicians whom I had taken into confidence and told them that why have you not sent back this letter to be signed by you so that I can hand it over to the Germans and get these names. Do you know, my friends, that both gave the same reply that we forgot. I said, doesn't matter, no harm done. 10 days are gone. The Germans have not prescribed any period of limitation. It is the 11th day today. At least sign that letter and send it to me. My friends, today 5 years have gone by. I have not yet received that letter. In the meantime, you will be surprised what happened. The Prime Minister of India was Mr. Manmohan Singh, a very dear friend of mine, for whom, for some of the things which he had done were good things, and I was one of his small admirers, and I had publicly praised him. Of all the persons in the Congress party, you don't know what he did. What he did was that he called the Swiss finance minister and entered into a secret protocol with that minister I don't wish to bother you with the terms of that protocol, but I want to tell you two important terms in that protocol. The first important term in that protocol was, and the most important one, that we will ask for information from you only about the future and not about the past. What do you think? You don't require much common sense to answer this question. It shows that India did not want this information at all. They didn't want to know the names of these conspirators. They did not want to know the names of those who have destroyed the destiny of more than half the population of India, which is wallowing in poverty and misery. Second term is much more important, but I'll tell you why it is important. It is a document called a Double Taxation Avoidance Treaty. It is a very innocent document which has a very legitimate purpose. It is a document which you will find referred to in Section 90 of the Indian Income Tax Act. An honest taxpayer sometimes has to pay tax on the same income in more than one country. An Indian businessman will pay tax to the Indian government because he is a subject of India, even if he makes money in Germany. But the German government can also tax him because he has made money in Germany, as we tax so many people who in India make money though they belong to somebody else. This is called the Double Taxation Avoidance Treaty. It is an innocent document. It is a worthwhile document. It has nothing to do with bribe givers and bribe takers and these corrupt rascals who have ruined the destiny of India. So, my friends, after this secret protocol, the third term was that the terms of this protocol will remain a secret. And the Double Taxation Avoidance Treaty came to be known thereafter as the amended Double Taxation Avoidance Treaty. Now, why I have told you this long story is what follows. The Supreme Court of India gave its judgment in the month of July 2011. It was a thumping judgment of which I am proud. If there is any pride in me about a judgment that I have got from the courts, it was that judgment which I got because it had all India ramifications, and it was a great moral victory for me and a great moral defeat for the rascals who ruled this country. One of the orders that they made, Supreme Court made, please read that judgment. It's a judgment dated 4th of July 2011. Every word of that judgment you must remember by heart, and not only read it for yourself, read it again and again to anybody who wants to know the truth about our dacoits in India. I call them the domestic dacoits. My friends, then of course in 2014, the BJP government came into power. When I'm talking of the BJP government, I'm talking of Mr. Modi's government. Everybody knows in this country how much I worked for Modi. I worked and worked and worked. I spent a fortune from my own pocket. I almost neglected my profession. By the way, my friend Dr. Vedic, he's a very good friend, but he created a bad impression about me, as if I earned too much money from the bar. I do earn money from the bar. but I earn it from 10% of my clients. 90% of my work in the courts is free. From the rich I overcharge. For the poor it is almost wholly free. That's my practice. And Providence has blessed me for this. And my friends, one of the orders which I procured from the Supreme Court in their judgment of July 2011 was that you have told us that you had approached the German government and the German government haven't given to you any relief, any knowledge, any information, nothing. And please disclose this correspondence. You are ordered to disclose it to Mr. Jethmalani. This sent a shudder through all these rascals who ruled us. And my friends, when I started threatening them with contempt, my first contempt notice given orally was to Mr. Chidambaram, the finance minister of Manmohan Singh, that please obey this order of the Supreme Court and deliver these papers to me. They did not. They did not for some time. Ultimately, the election results were announced in favor of Mr. Modi. And Mr. Modi's government was being sworn on that particular day in May 2014. It is on the day when the Modi government was being sworn, and please understand the mystery of why Modi's government was being sworn and why this thing happened on the day that government was being sworn, because the Congress was not as sure of the other BJP guys. They were very suspicious that Modi will not spare them. And before I joined his campaign, I told him that you put a clause in the party's election manifesto, and all of you can see that document. An election manifesto has promised that India will get back this black money of $1,500 billion. This was the estimate of a BJP task force. And not only we will get this money, but we shall put 15 lakhs in the pockets and the family and the bank accounts of every poor man in this country. When Modi did it, I joined his campaign. And please, don't ask me what that correspondence disclosed to me on the day that the Modi government was being sworn. Mr. Chidambaram's Assistant Solicitor General, under his covering letter, sent me 17 letters. I read those 17 letters. The first thing that I noticed was that the name of the writer of each letter and the name of each addressee of the letter was scored out by indelible black ink. Totally unreadable. Second, it was not a document or a correspondence between the government of India and the government of Germany. It was correspondence of some of our officers, subordinate officers, with a small tax office in Germany which dealt with only the double taxation avoidance treaty. I explained to you what the double taxation avoidance treaty is. Now it had become the amended double taxation avoidance treaty, under which you could get no information at all about the past. And my friends, when I read this correspondence, I tried to look at every name. All the names had been scored out. But there is some strange providence working in favor of Mr. Jethmalani, that at one place they had forgotten to score out the email address of that person. It took me a couple of hours to find out who was that person. And I am not letting you into a great secret. It was the email address of a member of the CBDT, the Central Board of Direct Taxes, a movement called Amita Kapoor, a well-known, I would use the word friend, I don't really use a stronger term, a well-known friend of Mr. Chidambaram. All other names were scored out, and I knew that this correspondence is the biggest fraud. And my friends, it came to me because of the fear of Mr. Modi. But Modi's fear was totally unfounded. Modi behaved like every other politician in the country. And that is one of my great, great disappointments in life. I consider my life worthless. Fortunately, the BJP, while this election campaign was going on in which I am working for Modi, this Arun Jaitley and his 8 or 9 members of the parliamentary board of our party, BJP party, finally expelled me from the party for having made allegations against the integrity of the parliamentary board. I was entitled to make these, and my freedom of speech, in which I believe, contains the obligation to speak the truth. And if I don't speak the truth about these rascals who are mixed up with the other rascals in the world, what am I a legal practitioner for? Why am I a member of parliament? Of course, I was expelled in the middle of 2013. I have filed a suit in the High Court of Delhi, for setting aside the order of expulsion as being a fraudulent order and for damages. I have finished my evidence 2 years ago. I am the plaintiff. I have finished my evidence 2 years ago, and now is the turn of the defendants to go into the box. The defendants are the 8 members of the parliamentary board of the party, and number 1 is Arun Jaitley, in my calculations. He is, of course, he is on the docket, he is 11 number, but in my mind, he is the person who is responsible for this expulsion, and he has managed everybody else. And the High Court of Delhi has been waiting for any of these 8 defendants to go into the witness box and give their own evidence against my evidence. Ultimately, all 8 of them have backed out. They got one MP from Rajasthan. Don't ask me his name. I don't know how he was persuaded to become the only witness for the defendants now. And the poor fellow has come and given evidence in court. And of course, I cross-examined him on 2 days. The last time the hearing took place, he came to me. He said, "Sir, please, now they are sending me to UP for elections." I said, "I wanted to disable you from going to UP, but don't worry about it. I will find out a remedy for you also. You go and work for them." But he said, "Give me an adjournment." I have given him an adjournment. I don't care that my term has already expired now of being in the BJP. Term expired in 2016. And my friends, fortunately, I am not totally friendless. And believe you me, I did not spend a single pie. I did not spend a single moment of my life on campaigning. My friends from Bihar sent me into parliament. I am there for the next 6 years. And I am there for the next 6 years. I have no political ambitions of any kind. As I declared to Mr. Modi himself, that Mr. Modi, I am living in the departure lounge of God's airport. I want nothing from you, and nothing means nothing. Now fulfill your promises to the people of India. So my friends, today I am in that mode, in that mood. that I wish to send these rascals to jail under any circumstances before I die. And I seek your blessings. I seek your good wishes and seek the good wishes of the rest of the country, that, believe me, I am totally without any kind of a desire now. My only desire is to see that the people of India get justice from these rogues and scoundrels. Inshallah, I will. But my friends, please understand that democracy cannot work without some people having the courage to get up and speak the truth and make sacrifice for speaking the truth. सितम के दौर में, ये सितम का दौर है, सितम के दौर में वो अहले दिल ही काम आए, ज़बां पे नाज था जिनको वो बेज़बां निकले. Not one of these members of parliament has the courage to speak the truth. And I am here, and my friends, as I told you, I read something very, very strange in the parliamentary debates. After the new government came into power, he came into power because he was a candidate of Mr. Modi from Amritsar. I'm talking of Mr. Arun Jaitley. He used to carry my gowns at one time to court. Anyway, he is the finance minister. Some friendly member of his asked a question in parliament that, Mr. Jaitley, please tell us, we brought nothing from the foreign countries where this black money was kept. And now our party president has made an announcement that all talk about black money during the emergency, during the election campaign was a big tamasha and a joke. What have you done? Listen, I don't wish to use the strong word crook, but I can't resist it somehow. He is a crook, but I have greater respect for crooks because crooks are at least intelligent normally. This man is both a crook and a fool. The answer that he gave in parliament was that I am trying to enter into the amended double taxation avoidance treaties with various nations. For this alone, the man should be in jail. And he is continuing to be the minister of Mr. Modi. That is why today I speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it is Modi who has to be afraid of my being that truthful and honest, because it was my good character that made me work for him in the election. Now, my friends, I don't wish to read to you. My illustrious judge has given you an exact, precise enunciation of this right to freedom of speech and expression under the articles of the Constitution. But you know, this article in the Constitution, which is Article 124A, if I mistake not, right? In this Article 124A, the exceptions to the right of free speech and expression, one of them is sedition. The marginal note of that subparagraph in the exceptions is sedition. But when you read the text of the clause, and would you please do read when you go home, it is a long explanation that whoever tries to create disorder, mutiny, war, and so on and so forth, and create some disfavor, or what is the exact word? Disorder, though, yes, but that you create a bad opinion of the government is also a part of the definition of sedition. Now, no democracy can work unless at least the opposition leaders are able to point out the faults and the crimes, if possible, of the ruling party. So that can't be the definition of sedition as the British had put it. The British had put it for the protection of the British Empire. And I regret to say, my friends, that today that same thing is being discussed, and it has been discussed up to December 2016. Now why? I have very little time. My friends, this particular provision about sedition being an exception to the right and the constitutional right of freedom of speech and expression, this sedition existed, and on this particular clause alone, there have been about 20 rulings of the Federal Court of India, of the Privy Council of India, of the Privy Council of England, and the Supreme Court judgments. And the law has come to be settled finally in a one-page judgment, in which this judgment is a judgment of the Supreme Court which was delivered on December 2016. And please understand that judgment, read that judgment. But this judgment, like the judges who are troubled by a multiplicity of judgments already existing, what has this judgment done? This judgment, my friends, has selected one judgment out of the lot. Federal Court, Privy Council, other Supreme Court judgments. They have now selected one judgment of the Supreme Court of India, and they said that this is the judgment which expresses the true meaning of this clause of sedition, which is an exception to the right of free speech. And I want each one of you, whether you are law students or not, and whether you are law professors or not, or you are only judges and ex-judges, please read the judgment which has been selected by the judgment of 2016 December to be now the binding judgment. The binding judgment is 1962 Supreme Court, page, it is Supreme Court Reports, Supplement 3, page 769, and the name of the parties is, respondent is the state of Bihar, and the appellant in that judgment is Kedarnath Singh. Kedarnath Singh versus the state of Bihar is the judgment which each one of you must read. It contains a discussion of all judgments on sedition and the right to freedom of speech and so on and so forth. And ultimately, they have come to one conclusion, and that one conclusion is that you can create as much disaffection as you can against the government, so long as you do not create mutiny, war, public disorder, and so on and so forth. All these judgments have now resolved into one judgment. But let me only tell you what happened to our great, great Indian leaders, for whom I have nothing but unqualified, unrestricted respect and reverence, and almost I consider him a god, and that was Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was tried for sedition. And my friends, he was tried for sedition, but he told the judge that it is my job to create disaffection against the British government. I will create disaffection, but I am a votary of non-violence. I will never advise my countrymen to create disturbance of the peace or to use violence or to go to war or to create an insurrection. In spite of that, please see the respect that he enjoyed from the British judge. The British judge convicted him, sentenced him to 6 years, and see what the judge said, because the judge was also feeling ashamed of having to convict this great man. The British judge said, passing sentence on Gandhi, his judge confessed, presented a problem of the utmost difficulty. He said, it presents to me the problem of the greatest difficulty. Then he said, I believe that Gandhiji is evidently a noble man and even a saintly character, quite different from any person that I have even tried or am likely ever to try again in my life. After this tribute, because he was bound by the British interpretation of sedition, he did convict him and passed this sentence of 6 years. And see the great Mahatma Gandhi, how did he react to that judgment? Because he knew that this judge is evidently confessing the sin of being a British judge, and he is ashamed to convict for this offense. And this is what he told the court. He said, when the sentence was passed, Gandhi said, it was as light as any judge would inflict on him, and thanked the court for its courtesy. The people moved forward and fell at Gandhiji's feet, sobbing, calm and smiling. He looked over the head of all, giving encouragement, and when his friends had left the court, he was led away to Sabarmati jail. My friends, the British are gone, and the 1962 judgment is after the departure of the British, and after the departure of the British, our Supreme Court has said that you are entitled to create as much disaffection against the government as I have tried to do this evening. And my friends, I hope you will join in this holy war against corruption and do something to redeem your destiny and to win a place in the glory of God and the heavens alone.